स्टडी IQ IAS, अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।
Hello students, welcome to StudyIQ's initiative, the podcast. I am your host Dipansh Moorjani. So get your juices flowing because it is time for the podcast of the day. In the last episode of the podcast, we had discussed leaders of our parliament in detail, which becomes one of the most important topics for any UPSC aspirant. So all the new listeners out there can listen to our previous episodes not only on YouTube but also on all the audio streaming platforms like Spotify, Hubhopper, Apple Podcast, etc. In today's episode of the podcast, we are going to discuss about sessions of our parliament. Sir, when we talk about sessions of our parliament, there is one important term which is summon. So can you explain about summon in simple words?
Under Article 85 of Indian Constitution, the President from time to time summons each house of the Parliament to meet. Parliament should meet at least twice a year, and the maximum gap between two sessions of Parliament cannot be more than 6 months. There are usually 3 sessions in a year. First is a budget session, which starts from February and lasts until May. This considers as the longest of all the 3 sessions. The second session is monsoon session, which starts around from July and will last till September. And the third session is winter session, which starts in November and will last till December. The sessions of Parliament, the period spanning between the first sitting of a house and its prorogation or dissolution in the case of Lok Sabha. Recess of Parliament, the period spanning between the prorogation of the House and its reassembly in new session.
Sir, while understanding sessions of Parliament, next important term is adjournment. So can you throw some light on adjournment?
An adjournment suspends the work in a sitting for a specified time, which may be hours, days, or weeks. Presiding officer of a house has the power of adjournment of the house. Each meeting of a day consists of 2 sittings. First is morning sitting and second is post-lunch sitting. A sitting of Parliament can be terminated by adjournment or even adjournment sine die or prorogation or dissolution.
Sir, while enjoying the telecast of Sunset TV, we often hear presiding officer of the house saying adjournment sine die. So we want to understand that what does this term mean?
When the house is adjourned without naming a day for reassembly, it is called adjournment sine die, terminating a sitting for an indefinite period. Presiding officer of house has the power to adjournment sine die. He can also call a sitting of the house before the date or time to which it has been adjourned or at any time after the house has been adjourned sine die.
Sir, next important term is prorogation. So how can we understand prorogation in simple words?
Presiding officer declares the house adjourned sine die when the business of the session is completed. Within the next few days, the President issue a notification for prorogation of the session. However, the President can also prorogue the House while in the session. In Britain, prorogation brings to an end all the bills or any other businesses pending before the House.
Sir, next important term which is related to sessions in Parliament is dissolution. And students often get confused between dissolution and prorogation. So we request you to clear our doubts.
Dissolution means dissolving the House, as Rajya Sabha is a permanent house and hence it is not subject to dissolution. Only the Lok Sabha is subject to dissolution. Dissolution, unlike a prorogation, ends the very life of the existing house and a new house is constituted after every general election which will be held. The dissolution of the Lok Sabha may take place in either of 2 ways. Number 1, automatic dissolution when the expiry of the tenure of Lok Sabha after 5 years happens. The second condition is that if the President decides to dissolve the House. The dissolution of Lok Sabha is irrevocable. On the dissolution of Lok Sabha, all businesses including bills, motion, resolution, notices, petitions and so on, pending before it or its committees lapses. However, some pending bills and all pending assurances that are to be examined by the Committee on Government Assurances do not lapse on the dissolution of the Lok Sabha.
Sir, after understanding dissolution, we are generally confused to understand that which bill will lapse and which bill will not lapse. So can you throw some light on this?
First, I will try to make you understand some bills which will lapse when the dissolution happens. The first condition when the bill lapse is that bills pending in front of Lok Sabha does not matter whether they originate in Lok Sabha or which is transmitted from the Rajya Sabha, these kind of bills will get lapsed. Number second, the bills which are passed by Lok Sabha, however, they are pending in Rajya Sabha, they will also get lapsed. In simple language, you have to remember that any bill which originate in Lok Sabha and pending in either of the houses will lapse. And the second condition where the bill does not lapse. Those are four important situations. Number one is that the bill which is not passed by the two houses due to disagreement and if the president has notified the holding of a joint sitting before the dissolution of the Lok Sabha. The second condition where the bill does not lapse is that when bill is pending in Rajya Sabha but not passed by the Lok Sabha. The third condition where bill does not lapse is when the bill is passed by both the houses but pending for the assent of the president. And the fourth condition where bill does not lapse is when the bill passed by the both houses. However, when it is sent to the president assent, president sends it to the reconsideration of the houses. Then also these bills will not lapse.
Sir, thank you for giving us the information. Dear listeners, it is time to wrap up this episode of the podcast, but you all don't have to worry because we will be back very soon with another topic. So stay connected with Study IQ and keep studying. You can listen to Study IQ Presents the podcast on various audio streaming platforms like Spotify, Hubhopper, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Kuku FM, etc. Links are pinned in the comment section below. Thank you.